All right, hey, this is Tim Reha here live at the HPA Tech Retreat. It's been a beautiful day. We've got Ben Baker. You worked on FATHEAD and Next Gen Productions, and you're from Australia, as well as we've got Mike Seymour from FXGuide. So it's really cool to connect the world together and bring in the Aussie love today.
Though I should point out, Ben's a Melbourne sort of lad. I'm a Sydney lad. This is like highly controversial, but all right. We'll bury the hatchet for today.
Melbourne and North Queensland before that, so all over the place.
Oh my God, an overproof rum drinker.
Yeah, that's right.
So it's great to have you here, Ben, because we're both Tim and I huge fans of the stuff that's happening with FATHEAD, and you're the EP of the project FATHEAD. So
that's right.
Please tell us how you got to be EP. I understand there was a phone call at some point that tipped the scales and you joined up?
Well, I had managed to talk my way into... My background is kind of as an executive and a post-producer. I kind of oscillate between those two and do some consulting. So I had managed to talk my way into the Unreal Fellowship for the March intake last year. I'd known the ETC and Eric Weaver for quite a while, probably 10 years. So I talked to Eric all the way through that. It was kind of a bit of a safety blanket in like, what's happening now? Finished my film, got out, and then Eric called me and said, hey, do you want to be the head of virtual production and executive produce this film we're doing, FATHEAD? They had selected the film from a diverse range of directors out of the USC Masters program. And he said, yeah, it'll just be one meeting a week. You'll run the virtual production meeting. That was in April last year. But it has been more than that, but it's been a very valuable experience in just, what I thought virtual production was to what I now kind of know it is now is, really interesting. It's been kind of invaluable in that knowledge.
Ben, and this is a story that I tell far too often, but it's certainly not it's the absolute father once sat me down and said, Mike, you can read the entire works of Sigmund Freud, but son, sooner or later, you're going to have to take a girl on a date. And nothing beats actually doing the work to understand the process. It's just experience.
Yeah, that's right.
So,
I at least know where the punches are coming from now,
How do you go about, though, facilitating a project like this, where it's not that you're just spending a ton of money to get what you want, you're actually working with the goodwill and the enthusiasm of a huge range of contributors?
Yeah, so, really the deal with these films is Eric has a connection to a wide range of vendors who offer their services. The requirements of the job from Eric's board and the selection committee was really they had done virtual production last year with the ripple effect, but that was very much out a window, car process. This was to be a far larger dynamic environment. A couple of sub-environments within a larger whole. They really wanted to push out on getting metahumans on a wall and just seeing what that was like. And the film has this whole aspect to it, which is called the Ragamuffin Army, this army of 50 children that traverse this garbage dump. So not something you would really... it would be very practical to do in real life. So it seemed like a good application for it. We were also testing a couple of other things, the sound reflectivity in these volumes, because you've got a pristine soundstage and you're putting up this huge glass parabolic wall in the middle of it. So the reflectivity is just crazy. We had a guy, Eric Rigney, talking about that this week, and we did some really interesting work there. And also then the usual ETC, like tracing metadata, those things were kind of important. They have a whole workflow, set workflow group as well. So I approached this having to build the team, and, it was a combination of vendors. I had available students from USC, and they've got a games program, they've got a cinema program. They're kind of joining those two together. But I became aware of several students who had like a decent amount of Unreal, who'd got into one of the rooms and set up a camera tracking system in one of the classrooms on an LED wall. And I was like, those are the people I want for this project. We had a great group from the Rochester Institute of Technology. They had got an EPIC grant, a mega grant, to set up their virtual cinema program. They've got 2 walls out there. They've got a course in photogrammetry. So that was really interesting. But you are kind of just trying to work out what you need to do, and then who can kind of do a little bit of something for a little while until they get a job, go off and do something else, particularly with students, But it was great at the same time. We were able to really push out. And I should say, we did what's called at the Unreal Fellowship, they have these things called face events. And that's usually like a vendor who's hiring and comes in and talks about their company. But instead, we did it about the production, and we pulled a number of people who were really specifically interested in the metahuman component. And I think we couldn't have got a better grounding from that group than, they'd all come kind of fresh out of the fellowship in the last year. I was number 4, and we had just the prototype, so we only had 2 models. There was no creator. And you've got to think, we were doing this 6 months before creator was even released. So everyone who heard about this was like, "What are you doing? Wait a second."
I remember MetaHuman pre-release, and it was you take it for granted now, some of the steps that came in. But
the toggles on remarkable. The toggles on the hoodies would just stand up straight on your model like that, But we slowly we got a good amount of advice from a lot of different vendors and people out there, and slowly started to build that team. And I think we've pushed the envelope in a way, because to cut to the end, there was
absolutely
the Friday before we were to shoot that block, we were in the volume talking to the guy in Unreal, and the stage staff are all trying to lower expectations, like, we really don't know what's going to happen. These were LOD0 models, 570,000 triangles per model, with individual animations. We built an animation trigger system. Erica Peng, a great
cool
person from the fellowship, she developed a control system so that we could push button off stage, and it would blend animation from one state to the next, because these metahumans had to be like cheering at one point, and they're all kind of in the distance. I started this saying, no metahuman's going to get a show tune. No one's going to be close up. We're going to put helmets on them. Like, you just try and, as a producer, you just try and mitigate against what is going to bite you in the ass in 6 months' time. I don't know whether I can say that, but bite you in 6 months' time.
Oh, you can say it, and I know what you mean.
Yeah, so...
Yeah, lower expectations.
We had this magical moment where we're just on the screen, 1, okay, that's playing, great. Duplicate, 2, great. 4, great. 8... And we got up to 30, and they're all there. They're just on the screen. This is just in the brain bar at the moment. And then the stage manager's like, okay, we're going to turn on the screen, but let's still lower expectations. We lit it up, and it was all just... And everybody there just walked into the center of the stage. We've been working on these things for about 6 months, and you just looked around, and they're all doing their little waving action, and it was really quite something, we have a big volume.
How big was the physical stage? Like how, just in meters across, as it were, or feet across if you're in the States?
85 feet across.
Okay. So this is not a small stage. This is like
No. And, we had positioned them so that, largely, one of the things I really learned was just how important silhouettes are, and actually in these environments, and you're moderating silhouettes over distance, right? And that's something I'd never really, until we got into this. And so to put these metahumans, and our environment is a really large garbage dump, and so it's lots of seemingly random stuff, which has all been placed very carefully, so it's not near each other. We actually used, the RIT team, they made kind of kit bash assets. So, there was an epic sale on the marketplace one weekend. We all just tore into that. It was like, a Black Friday sale. And then our production designer would design barrels and tarps and a car body, and 6 different variations of that, and then they would go and put them together and put other variations, and we kind of just gave them the basic building blocks of barrels, a tarp, car, and they were using the same assets, and we could then place those units, rotate them a little, and because the thing about something like a garbage dump, you notice very quickly when you're using the same asset, in your field of view. And so you need to do things to break it up, because we certainly didn't have the budget to, do photogrammetry on hundreds of cars. Although we did have Raina Gombos, who had won the Emmy for Game of Thrones, the Direwolves. He was early on, he was a photogrammetry supervisor. So we sent Raina to a great kind of airplane graveyard in Tucson, Arizona, where it's really dry.
Okay.
And they're all set up. I joke that they're set up like an Unreal Asset Pack, so all the planes are in their own little area, and they've got a little sign on them. But they got some great photogrammetry pieces that we put in there. But that was the large scale kind of planes, and there's a plane nose, a cockpit nose, but most of the other stuff in the junkyard is marketplace assets.
I mean, I've got to say, as cool as the environment is, it's the idea that you are putting characters there, because up until now, the sort of rule of thumb has been, yeah, great for an environment, especially at sunset, infinite magic hour. But if we're going to put characters in there, hey, we'll do all that in post. We'll just,
Yes.
pump them in later. And to do that at that scale, and then to be doing it in a way that you're going to be giving away the lessons learned is just so admirable.
You can kind of only do this on a project like this because I don't know too many visual effects supervisors who will bet the farm on getting, animated characters to work in a virtual production situation. Now, I am certainly not saying that we achieved the fidelity that you're getting in virtual characters at the moment, in full, visual effects virtual characters. But so many people told us that it was a bad idea that it has to be noted that, and somebody after the presentation came up to me and said, people have told me they couldn't do it. I'm going to tell them you did it. So then, we can, and you kind of just feel like you've just been, the first guy through the door always gets shot, right? But I think we had the latitude to be the first person through the door, and when we looked at them, you kind of, we used a couple of different, and that's the thing with this project. We used a camera-based mocap system, Mover.ai, which was quite effective, but, at the version at the time, hands, shoulder rolls are a problem, these kind of mocap problems. We used, 2 other suit systems. Wish I could remember their names off the top of my head.
Using, we'll pull it in.
Yeah. Another fellowship guy, Jet Alano, he has a mocap studio called The Secret Hideout in Pasadena. So we got kids up there and did his suit mocap. And so we kind of all, in each stage, we're kind of testing 2 or 3 techniques at the same time. So it's not like I hate to say a real feature, but it's, where you decide on a pipeline and then no one changes it. And
taking the time to document those things and then taking the time after to issue the white papers is just brilliant. Ben, I could talk to you all day. You and I share a long history of bumping into each other over our careers, but unfortunately we're out of time dramatically.
I know. Thank you very much,
congratulations on the project. And we're really looking forward to seeing the output, as well as I say, the white paper. And Tim, I'm sure you'd agree with me, this is just such a great project.
Yeah, I mean, the scale and what I've learned just to be able to look under the hood of this and then to meet you all in person has been a fantastic event. So we want to give Ben Baker a custom 3D printed design with Wacom, the scan truck, and printed by Stratasys FATHEAD token of appreciation, which is a necklace.
Yeah, this is great.
And thanks, Vlad and the Scan Truck team and Arvind, Wacom.
Yeah, these guys have been great.
Canon sent cameras in. We have Team Quasar. We have Lenovo. And so it's a really big family.
35 vendors. 35 vendors we had working on this, all giving their time. So it was amazing, And
so what we'll do is we'll cut in some. I'm curious what's up next for you.
Well, I'm wondering that myself. Words out. I've been taking the meetings. I've been in LA. I mean, what's great about this project as well is you can kind of show people material. While you're producing it, you are kind of soliciting responses from people. So we don't post it, but I mean, there are different teams all the way through this that we've been getting on Zoom, of course, not going, I was going to say go over. No, you get on Zoom and you're showing them we got to this far, but then what do you think? And they're like, oh yeah, right, I think you should try, so we solicited from a wide range of... Yeah,
it's an international team. Pavan's in the UK.
He was the technical head of our MetaHumans effort, and I really want to get Pavan to talk to you, Mike, because I think he led our entire effort and did all the... Which includes Arch giving us a 150 GPU processor virtual machine that was in Ireland that they let him have just so we could start to do this. And so, that's a very interesting story. I'll put you guys together.
I do not want to kick you off, Ben, but unfortunately we do have to move on. But thank you so much, mate. Time. Really appreciate it.
Thank you, mate. No worries. Bye.